Alright, this is Big Boss. It's Foxhound Woodsball coming to you from Fort Lauderdale and from my blog page over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I'm also repping the guys from A.L.I.C.E Tactical, so you can check them out over at AskTactical.com. Anyway, this is the final stretch we are doing for the 3-part video on the A.L.I.C.E series of equipment. I already discussed the web gear proper, which would be the first video, then the individual integrated fighting system, and more particularly its centerpiece, the LBV-88 tactical load-bearing vest. And now, finally, we have reached the rucksacks. The hardest part, the one that gave me the most hell researching, I decided to go for it. Though, I will say this was integrated into different generations with your LC1s, your LC2, and we can say that some of the other implementations to the system during the GWAT or late 90s, before the GWAT, was be your like LC3 stuff, but I digress on that one. We're going to be diving into the history of this and why these packs were developed, but first, a word from our friends and sponsors over at A.L.I.C.E Tactical, so you can check them out over at AskTactical.com. We'll be back right after this.
The A.L.I.C.E pack came about as a result of use of the lightweight rucksack during the Vietnam War. As you can see pictured here, mounted low and mounted high. Kind of looks like an A.L.I.C.E pack, but that's what we call the lightweight rucksack. A lot of ways an oversized butt pack. But as you can see from the pictures being shown here, American troops did work with it pretty good. They were able to load this thing down to the max. This is especially true if you're infantry, LARP team, special forces, and so on and so forth. However, there were issues with it for one reason or another, and then Americans started getting their hands on small numbers of ARVN rucksacks, which led to an Americanized version pictured here called the Tropical Rucksack. As you can see, definitely looks more reminiscent to the A.L.I.C.E pack, but this came with an internal frame, which some guys liked, some guys didn't, and this led to the creation of the A.L.I.C.E pack that we know today.
Okay, I hope that explanation wasn't too drawn out. As you guys know me personally, I'm a military history freak, so I will be explaining a lot of things in that regard. Now, the two backpacks I have here, the one right here is going to be your medium A.L.I.C.E rucksack, and the one right here is going to be the large rucksack. Now, you will find a small A.L.I.C.E rucksack on the civilian market. However, bear this in mind, the small ones are more commercially produced. I do not know if any of those were official issue. As far as I know, the only official issued ones would be the medium here and the large. Those are the only two that were standard issue. Everything else would be your commercially produced knockoffs. But with that being said, both backpacks here that I have are going to be the LC1 variant. These are the ones that first came out in the aftermath of Vietnam. These were the ones that most American troops would be familiar with from Grenada, Panama, maybe even some of these were early Desert Storm, and then you got your LC2, so on and so forth, right up into the GWA. Now, with that being said, for both of them, you will have, let me turn this right here, you'll have these cords right here. These cords here will be used to make this thing a lot smaller. That way you could put less stuff in to make it tighter on you, smaller, whatever. However, that would be omitted in the LC2 variant as well as preceding generations. The same goes for it being in the large one. However, let's talk about what the medium pack is for right now. So let me get the large guy off. Now, the medium A.L.I.C.E ruck is exactly what it means. It is medium. As you can see, this one you've got the friction locks here, and the webbing here is folded over and stitched. That means you can't just pull this thing out to like you would on the large ruck, but I'll explain that in a little while with that one. Now, opening this bad boy up, you got this big pocket right here. Now, this pocket right here would be used for a PRC 77 field radio. Today you could put in Camelback systems, you could put in any number of hydration systems. I used to use this for a laundry bag at one point when I did summer leadership training when I was in high school, but I digress. This one being the medium one, you got webbing on the top here, goes all the way around the entirety of the pack. This is a good thing as it allows you to have more freedom to mount certain items where you need it to. All the packs are going to have these adjustable buckles here. You could use friction locks on here to expand them, but they also snap into place as well. So you definitely have a nice amount of adjustment on all three of these. What sets this one apart from the large ruck is you also have these pass-throughs that go through the pockets from here, here, and here. So you could theoretically put anything from mortar tubes, machine gun barrels, anything like that, or any large items. Any place where you could put the A.L.I.C.E pouches on here with the clips. You also have the grommets on here as well, which would be for the older M1910 hook system, which was still in service by the U.S. military well into the global GWAT. The last item of that particular family that was discontinued was the M8 Scabbard and the M17 bayonet, and that was used predominantly by the Marine Corps, but I digress. Now, this one has taken a bit of a pounding, as you can see from the top cover here, though these can be replaced. Some guys do replace them, some guys do other mod jobs, so keep an eye on that one. Other than that, you've got a nice Velcro slot here. You could put rain gear here, you could put any number of things you need for your mission in here. Moving on to the bottom, you've also got a nice set of webbing right here and here, so you could attach bed rolls. You can attach a sleep system if you need to from the new Molly line, but you could hook in a lot of stuff too. So this is one of those things where you can experiment with. It's flexible like that. Here's the interesting part for the medium one. This one can actually operate independently of the aluminum frame, so this thing can definitely allow you to be the most versatile, carries a good amount to get the mission done, and not much else. As you can see, you got the rings right here on the pack, so that way you could utilize the shoulder straps with. You also have the friction lock here to wrap it onto the frame if you choose to use the frame. Other than that, you got the rings on here as well, so that way you could run the straps through and use it independently of that frame, as I said. Other than that, there's nothing much to this backpack. Very flexible, very much a solid performer. You can find these just about anywhere for a damn good price. Same goes to the large one. And let me pop that one up. Now, the large rucksack. This one, you have to use the frame. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. With that being said, this has some serious differences from the medium rucksack. Namely, the locking mechanisms right here. These pinch clips here that you feed this 1-inch wide webbing strap through. You can easily lock this thing down. However, over time these will break, so baby them where you can, replace them where you must. Best way I can say. But moving on. Now, just like with the medium ruck, you've got the large pocket for your PRC 77. You also have the cordage in here to tie this thing up, make it smaller. I don't know why you would need to do that, but moving on. Now, you got these 3 pouches here. These pouches, as far as I know from their size, could each fit a 20 round magazine of 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO. That would mean your M14 mags, your G3, your FALs. Those mags you can put in here, or you can put in 2 20 round STANAG mags, which would be your 5.56 by 45 millimeter, such as for your AR-15 platforms. That's from my understanding on this one. This because this particular pack was developed right at the end of Vietnam, so there was still plenty of the 20 round magazines in the inventory to go around, but 30 round was becoming more standard, at least by the time we pulled out of Vietnam. It was the 30 round ones from then on out. However, this particular pack would not function with that until we got to the A.L.I.C.E system, which would be about mid 80s into the 90s, but don't hold me to that one. Now, you got the pass-throughs on both the right and left, your side pockets. Your center one does not have that. The other thing about these pockets, you got the same kind of pinch clip adjustment system here as you would on the main compartment flap, as well as it snaps in. But the other thing is, you've also got this gutted paracord around here going into the grommets on these pouches to tie these things up, just so that way you could hold a little extra, keep it a little more secure. We've also got the same provisions for A.L.I.C.E mounting here and here, as well as right here as well. You got the side piece here, which you could do some stuff with it, but I would say it's more trial and error deal. My understanding is with this particular webbing piece here, guys would take their GP straps from their 2-quart canteens, wrap it around there. You could use it to keep it secure to the pack, or you could use it to tighten the pack. It was something that paratroopers did, but if you guys weren't airborne infantry back then when this pack was an issue, let me know about it, so if I need to correct it, I can. Other than that, pretty much Same basic thing as your medium with a few minor differences. However, moving on to the frame and the straps itself on here. Okay, moving it over, as you can see, this thing was designed to work specifically with this aluminum frame. Most countries were switching over to an internal frame. The US didn't want to do that until the newer MOLLE systems were coming out after the initial rollout of the MOLLE gear, because the aluminum frame is solid, it works. An external frame, you can do a whole hell of a lot more with it, and I could definitely give you a explanation right now on it.
The pack frame used on the A.L.I.C.E rucksack is an evolution off of the pack frame used by the lightweight rucksack during the Vietnam period. Utilizing a pair of lashing straps and one or two cargo shelves, soldiers have been able to throw everything from gasoline and water jugs onto the pack frames up to more than one or two different types of ammo boxes, field radios, you name it. You could probably hook it up somehow with the lashing straps and the cargo shelves. The crossbars on the pack are also able to slip ALICE clips, and as you could see with this particular picture right here, using the pack frame, I hooked up a Black Hawk butt pack as well as a couple of pouches to show that you could do a lot with this.
Okay, now that the explanation is out of the way on that one, as you can see with the straps here, right here, you can see how they're hooked on. But the thing is with these particular straps, here's how they work. You got a 2-ring system. You got your main ring here, and you got the attachment ring. What you do is you feed it in right here like this. Then you take your pinch clip, hook it in here like so. Then you snap down, get the snap on here, and there you go. Your backpack is secure. If you need to ever ditch this thing, you just unsnap this thing and pull up in one quick motion, and as you can see, it disengaged, so that way you can drop this thing if you absolutely had to. The other thing is the kidney pad on here. Now, you can replace these things. Every piece of this was set up so that way you can replace it as needed. Me, because I'm not a big fan of how this kidney pad's set up, I hooked the waist belt around the frame to keep it in place, and so that way I don't have excess strappage around when I'm having to hump this thing. That's the other thing. I run web gear. I don't need to get confused with the buckles. 2, if I've got to drop this thing, I don't need to forget about that damn waist belt and have this thing bring me down if I'm trying to ditch it for anything. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some of the aftermarket ideas.
The A.L.I.C.E Rucksack series has been in service for well over 30 years, and with that being said, you've got a whole crap ton of aftermarkets on just about anything you can think of. Like you saw just now, we have these in various patterns from Japanese, German, American patterns like this Marpat Woodland pictured here, as well as solid colors like black, khaki, and anything in between made by a multitude of companies. With that being said, there's also a massive market and cottage industry of modification guys that will mod these things using components from the MOLLE and MOLLE 2 Rucksack series, as well as using components from that and the A.L.I.C.E packs doing a mix and match on everything, taking Alice packs and modernizing them with everything from quick release buckles, adding on carry handles, and sometimes even full on molly jobs on the older Alice packs to make them more viable for the 21st century battle space. However, you can do just about anything with that, and I will put links in the video for this as well as the articles.
Alright, and that concludes our look at the Alice medium and large rucksacks. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, hit that like button, share this around. Don't forget to like, comment, let the YouTube algorithm know this is stuff you want to see. If you guys want a written version of this, check out the article over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I will put a link in the description to this video. If you want to see the Brent 0331 rundown on this system, I'll put the link in here as well. And finally, if you guys need rail items for your AR platforms, for your paintball gun, real steel, or airsoft guns, you need molly gear, check out my friends over at Acid Tactical. You can check them out, acidtactical.com. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you gotta trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.